You know, life is full of challenges. There are always things that are out of your control, moments that can knock you down, and people who may try to get under your skin. But here's the truth: how you respond to all of that is the key. Life is not about what happens to you, it's about how you choose to react to what happens. And here's something important to remember: you don't have to let anyone take your peace. No one has the right to get you angry or make you feel less than. You have the power to decide how you're going to feel, no matter what anyone else does. The first thing to realize is that anger doesn't serve you. It doesn't make you strong. It doesn't make you look powerful. In fact, it does the opposite. Anger only drains you, wastes your energy, and creates unnecessary tension in your body and mind. When you choose to be angry, you're allowing someone else's behavior to control how you feel. You're giving them power over your emotions. And that's a choice you can choose not to make. It's important to understand that your energy is precious. Why would you waste it on something as destructive as anger? Think about it for a moment. When you're angry, you're not thinking clearly. Your emotions take over, and your decisions become impulsive. You're not being your best self. You're not operating at your full potential. In those moments of anger, you might say things you regret, or do things that don't align with who you are deep down. And who does that serve? Certainly not you. It only causes harm to yourself and possibly to others around you. So the question becomes, why would you allow yourself to fall into that trap? Now, here's a powerful idea: no one has the ability to make you angry without your permission. I want you to let that sink in for a moment. It's a concept that changes everything. No one can make you angry unless you let them. Anger is an emotion you choose. You might not always be able to control what someone else says or does, but you can control your reaction. You can decide how you're going to handle the situation. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. We all have our own battles, don't we? People are fighting their own wars, struggling with their own issues, dealing with pain, frustration, or insecurities that we might not even be aware of. Sometimes when people act out or say things that upset you, it's not really about you at all. It's about them, their struggles, their wounds. People react based on what they're feeling inside. Someone tries to push your buttons, understand that it's not about you. It's about them, their hurt, and their inability to deal with their emotions in a healthy way. What's your role in that situation? Your role is to stay grounded. Your role is to be bigger than the moment, to rise above the noise, and to understand that their actions are not your responsibility. The moment you realize that someone else's behavior is not about you, it becomes a whole lot easier to let it go. You don't have to engage with their negativity. You don't have to react to their anger. You don't have to fall into that trap of getting upset. You have the power to stay calm, collected, and above all, peaceful. And that's a choice you make every time. Now, I want you to remember this: there is nothing more powerful than a calm mind in a storm. The storms of life, the challenges, the tough moments, those are the times that will truly define you. The people who can keep their cool when everything around them is chaos are the ones who stand out. They don't let external circumstances dictate how they feel. They control their emotions, and that's what makes them strong. The moment you let someone's words or actions throw you off balance, you lose your center. And once you lose your center, it's a lot harder to find your way back. This is where your mindset plays a huge role. If you want to stop getting angry or bothered by anyone, you have to change the way you think. You need to shift your perspective on the world and on yourself. Start by realizing that your inner peace is more important than anything anyone else can say or do. If someone insults you, that's a reflection of them, not of you. If someone cuts you off in traffic, that's a reflection of their impatience, not of your worth. And when people challenge you or try to provoke you, remember, it's not about you. You are in control of how you respond, and your response can be one of grace, calm, and self-respect. Think about the people you admire. What do they have in common? Do they react to every little thing that bothers them? No. They stay calm no matter what. They don't get caught up in drama. They stay focused on what matters, which is their peace of mind, their goals, and their sense of self. They've learned that anger doesn't add anything of value to their lives, and neither does holding on to negativity. Here's something else that's important: take responsibility for your feelings. This is key. You are in control of your emotional state. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't have to let it ruin your day. If someone says something rude, you don't have to let it define you. These are just moments, and you decide how you will let them affect you. Too often, we blame other people for our feelings. But the truth is, It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that determines how you feel. If you choose to stay calm, you will stay in control. Another important step is to practice empathy. Understand that everyone has their own struggles. When you recognize that people are coming from a place of hurt or frustration, it becomes easier to let their actions roll off your back. You don't need to take everything personally. When someone lashes out at you, it's not about you, it's about their inability to deal with whatever is going on in their own life. When you can approach others with empathy instead of anger, it will transform your entire perspective. You'll see the world differently, and you'll find that there's a lot less to get upset about. Another key to letting go of anger is self-awareness. If you are aware of the things that trigger you, you can avoid those situations or prepare yourself for them. If certain people always seem to push your buttons, ask yourself why. What is it about their behavior that triggers such a strong response from you? Is it something you can control, or is it something that you need to work on within yourself? Self-awareness helps you understand your own emotional responses, and that's the first step in making a change. One of the best tools for maintaining your peace is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of staying present in the moment, fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without getting caught up in them. When you practice mindfulness, you learn to detach from negative emotions before they have a chance to take root. Instead of reacting immediately to something that upsets you, you pause, breathe, and choose your response consciously. You don't let anger consume you because you're aware of it the moment it arises. Mindfulness gives you the power to control your emotional state no matter what's going on around you. And here's a final thought. Remember that every day is an opportunity to practice peace. Just like anything else, peace is a skill. The more you practice it, the better you become at it. Each time you choose not to react to something that could make you angry, you're strengthening that muscle of peace. Each time you take a step back, breathe, and choose calm, you're reinforcing your inner strength. This doesn't happen overnight, but with time and effort, it becomes second nature. The more you practice not letting others affect your peace, the more it becomes a part of who you are. Ultimately, peace is a choice. It's not something that happens by accident. It's something you actively create in your life every single day. So the next time someone tries to anger you or life throws you a curveball, remember you have the power to stay calm. You have the power to rise above it. And you have the power to decide that nothing will steal your peace. Take that power, own it, and watch how your life transforms. No one can make you angry unless you allow them to. Your emotional responses are within your control, and you have the power to choose calm over anger. Anger drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and often leads to regretful actions. It serves no real purpose and only hinders your ability to stay focused and centered. Recognize that people's actions are often a reflection of their own struggles. By practicing empathy, you can avoid taking things personally and maintain your peace. Being present and aware of your emotions allows you to pause and consciously choose your response. Mindfulness helps you detach from negative emotions before they take hold, fostering inner calm. Every person, regardless of their background or experiences, has the ability to control how they respond to external situations. This is one of the most powerful realizations anyone can have in their life. We are not slaves to our emotions, and we don't have to be reactive to the world around us. The moment we understand that our reactions are in our hands, we step into a place of true power. The power to shape our experiences, the power to navigate through challenges, and most importantly, the power to maintain peace in a world full of chaos. Think about it, there are so many things in life that are beyond our control. People will say things that upset us, situations will arise that test our patience, and challenges will pop up that we did not expect. But at the heart of it all, we have a choice. We can choose to react in a way that elevates us, that keeps us grounded, and that leads us to solutions rather than problems. Or we can choose to give in to anger, frustration, or stress, allowing these negative emotions to cloud our judgment and disrupt our peace. One of the first steps in understanding how we control our reactions is realizing that we are not our emotions. Emotions are temporary states, and they arise due to external triggers or internal thoughts. But they don't define who we are. Just because we feel angry or frustrated in a moment doesn't mean we are angry or frustrated people. Emotions are natural and normal, but they do not need to rule us. When we begin to separate ourselves from our emotions, we start to gain more control over them. Another key aspect of controlling our reactions is taking responsibility for our feelings. Too often, we fall into the trap of blaming others for how we feel. If someone cuts us off in traffic, we blame them for making us angry. If someone speaks to us rudely, we blame them for making us feel disrespected. But here's the truth: no one can make us feel anything without our permission. Emotions are not caused by others, they are caused by how we choose to interpret and respond to external events. We can't control the actions of others, but we can control how we react to them. For example, if someone says something hurtful to you, you can choose to respond in a way that either fuels the fire or calms the situation down. If you react defensively, arguing back or letting the comment bother you, you are letting the other person control your emotional state. But if you choose to respond with calmness, perhaps even understanding their perspective, you are taking control of the situation. You are deciding not to let their words affect your inner peace. One of the ways to start taking control of your reactions is by practicing self-awareness. Self-awareness means being conscious of your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in the moment. When you are aware of the emotions rising within you, you have the opportunity to decide how to handle them before they take over. Without self-awareness, we often react impulsively, letting our emotions dictate our actions. But when we take a step back and observe ourselves, we can choose to respond in a way that aligns with our values, goals, and sense of self-respect. For instance, let's say you're in a meeting and someone interrupts you or dismisses your idea. Your initial reaction might be anger or frustration. However, if you're aware of this emotional reaction as it occurs, you can pause, breathe, and choose how to respond. You don't have to lash out or feel offended. Instead, you can calmly express your thoughts or perhaps even allow the other person to speak, knowing that your self-worth is not tied to their acknowledgement. When you practice this level of self-awareness, you begin to master your emotional responses, making you more resilient and composed in every situation. Another powerful way to control your reactions is to understand that not everything is personal. People are often dealing with their own struggles, insecurities, and frustrations that have nothing to do with us. When someone acts out or behaves in a way that triggers us, it's easy to take it personally and feel hurt or upset. But most of the time, their behavior is a reflection of their own internal struggles, not an attack on us. When we shift our mindset to understand this, it becomes much easier to maintain our peace and not react emotionally. For example, if someone is rude to you, it might be because they're having a bad day or dealing with personal stress. Their behavior is about them, not about you. If you understand this, you can let their words or actions roll off your back rather than taking it as an offense. This is the essence of emotional maturity, recognizing that you are not responsible for how others behave and you don't need to react to their negativity. You can choose to remain calm and detached without letting their behavior affect your emotional state. When we take responsibility for our feelings, we also give ourselves the freedom to let go of resentment and anger. Holding on to negative emotions like anger, jealousy, or frustration is like carrying a heavy burden. It takes energy, it weighs you down, and it drains your peace. But when we choose to release these emotions, we free ourselves. Letting go doesn't mean we're condoning poor behavior from others. It simply means we're choosing not to let their actions define our emotional state. We're choosing to move on, to rise above, and to maintain our inner peace. In order to control your reactions, it's also important to practice emotional regulation. This means learning how to manage and adjust your emotional responses in a healthy way. When you feel anger rising within you, for instance, you have the ability to pause, take deep breaths, and calm yourself before responding. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing your emotions, but rather about recognizing them and choosing how to express them in a constructive way. This is a skill that can be developed with practice. One way to improve emotional regulation is by developing healthy coping mechanisms. For example, when you feel overwhelmed or irritated, instead of reacting impulsively, you can practice deep breathing, take a walk, or engage in another calming activity that helps you recenter. These small practices can make a huge difference in how you respond to difficult situations. Over time, As you build your emotional resilience, you'll find that you're less likely to react in ways that disturb your peace. You'll feel more in control of your emotional state no matter what life throws at you. Another key to controlling your reactions is adopting a mindset of perspective. Life is full of ups and downs, but if you can step back and look at the bigger picture, you'll realize that most of the things that upset you in the moment are not as significant as they seem. When you are able to detach from the situation and take a broader view, you can more easily let go of small irritations and see them for what they are: temporary inconveniences that don't define your happiness. By maintaining this perspective, you can avoid getting caught up in the drama and instead stay focused on what truly matters in your life. This perspective also helps when it comes to understanding the difference between a response and a reaction. A reaction is an automatic, often emotional response to a situation. It's impulsive and doesn't always serve your best interests. A response, on the other hand, is a thoughtful, deliberate action that comes from a place of awareness and self-control. When you choose to respond rather than react, you take ownership of the situation, and you choose a course of action that aligns with your values and goals. This shift in mindset is key to living a life of emotional mastery. It's also worth noting that one of the best ways to control your reactions is through regular reflection and self-care. When you take time each day to reflect on your actions, thoughts, and emotions, you become more attuned to your patterns. You start to notice when you're prone to certain emotional reactions, and you can work to adjust them over time. Self-care is equally important, as it helps you recharge, reduce stress, and maintain a sense of balance in your life. When you're well-rested, emotionally nourished, and in a good mental space, it's much easier to respond to challenges calmly and rationally. One last point worth mentioning is that learning to control your reactions is a lifelong practice. It's not something you'll master overnight. There will always be moments when you feel overwhelmed or triggered by a situation. But the more you practice self-awareness, empathy, emotional regulation, and perspective, the more naturally these responses will come. Over time, you'll become more emotionally resilient, and your reactions will be more thoughtful and composed. Remember, every day is an opportunity to practice. And the more you practice, the stronger and more capable you'll become in handling whatever life throws your way. The ability to control your reactions is a game changer. It's the difference between living a life of peace and living a life of stress. It's the difference between being a slave to your emotions and being the master of your own emotional state. You have the power to choose how you respond to everything that happens in your life, and by choosing wisely, you'll create a life of calm, clarity, and inner strength. So take charge of your reactions. Embrace your ability to choose your response, and watch as your life transforms. Anger is one of the most potent, destructive emotions that we as human beings can experience. It has the power to cloud our judgment, impair our decision-making, and ultimately harm not only our relationships but also our well-being. Although anger is a natural emotion that everyone experiences at one time or another, it becomes truly destructive when we allow it to take over and dictate how we act. The truth is, unchecked anger does not serve us. It doesn't make us stronger or more in control. On the contrary, it weakens us, depleting our energy and affecting our mental, emotional, and even physical health. Anger, in its rawest form, often comes from a place of hurt, frustration, or a perceived injustice. When we feel threatened, disrespected, or hurt by someone's actions or words, anger can seem like a natural response. It feels as though we must react immediately to defend ourselves or assert our position. However, this impulse to react in anger is almost always driven by our emotions rather than rational thought. This is where the danger lies, because when we act out of anger, we are not thinking clearly. The anger becomes the lens through which we view everything, and in that moment, we lose our ability to make choices based on logic, empathy, or understanding. One of the most destructive effects of anger is the way it distorts our perception of reality. In a state of anger, we often focus solely on the source of our frustration, blowing it out of proportion and allowing it to dominate our thoughts. We forget the bigger picture, and instead we become fixated on the perceived wrong that we believe has been done to us. This narrow focus prevents us from seeing things from a different perspective, or recognizing that the situation may not be as catastrophic as it feels in the heat of the moment. What was once a minor inconvenience or misunderstanding can quickly escalate into something much more significant simply because we allowed ourselves to become consumed by anger. Anger also has a direct impact on our physical health. The emotional turmoil that comes with anger triggers a stress response in the body. Our heart rate increases, our muscles tense, and our blood pressure rises. These physiological reactions are part of the body's fight or flight response, designed to prepare us for a threat. In small doses, this response can be helpful, enabling us to react quickly in situations of danger. However, when we allow anger to persist, it becomes harmful. Chronic anger keeps the body in a constant state of high alert, contributing to long-term health problems such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and even stroke. The strain on the body from prolonged anger can damage not only the cardiovascular system, but also the immune system, leaving us vulnerable to illness. Anger also has a profound impact on our relationships. When we react with anger, we often say things that we don't mean, or we act in ways that we later regret. In moments of anger, we can become defensive, aggressive, or dismissive, causing others to feel hurt, rejected, or disrespected. These actions often lead to a breakdown in communication and trust, making it more difficult to resolve conflicts in a healthy and productive way. The more frequently we respond with anger, the more we risk damaging our relationships, whether they are personal, professional, or even casual. Over time, this accumulation of hurt feelings and unresolved conflicts can create distance between us and others, leaving us feeling isolated and misunderstood. Another aspect of anger's destructiveness is the way it can impair our judgment and decision-making. When we are angry, we are often driven by an intense desire to react immediately, to strike back, or to restore balance in the situation, even if doing so would not be in our best interest. We may make snap decisions that we later regret or engage in behaviors that are not aligned with our values. In some cases, this can lead to serious consequences, such as losing a job, damaging a reputation, or harming a relationship beyond repair. Anger clouds our ability to think clearly and rationally, which is why many of our worst decisions are made in the heat of the moment when we're driven by strong emotions. Even when we are not acting outwardly in anger, harboring it internally can be just as destructive. Holding on to anger and resentment, even if we are not expressing it outwardly, creates a toxic emotional environment within ourselves. These emotions fester and build up, leading to bitterness and a sense of injustice. Over time, this internalized anger can manifest in other ways, such as anxiety, depression, or feelings of powerlessness. Rather than resolving the underlying issue, we continue to carry the burden of unresolved anger, which only serves to undermine our mental health and happiness. The destructive nature of anger is not limited to personal relationships or individual health. It can also impact the broader social and cultural environment. On a larger scale, unchecked anger can lead to conflicts between groups, communities, and even nations. History is littered with examples of how anger has fueled violence, war, and division. Anger breeds hatred and intolerance, which perpetuates cycles of conflict and suffering. Whether in personal interactions or on a global stage, anger tends to create division rather than unity, making it harder to come together to solve problems or find common ground. Interestingly, anger often stems from a sense of powerlessness. When we feel unable to control our environment or change our circumstances, we often respond with anger as a way to assert control or reclaim a sense of agency. This is especially true in situations where we feel disrespected, unheard, or invalidated. The desire to assert power can be overwhelming, and in that moment, anger becomes a defense mechanism to protect our sense of self-worth. However, what many don't realize is that by responding with anger, we are actually giving away our power. We are allowing ourselves to be controlled by the very emotion that we are trying to use as a tool for empowerment. The more we let anger dictate our responses, the less control we have over the situation, and the more we lose sight of our true strength and power. Ultimately, the destructive nature of anger lies in its ability to erode our sense of peace and well-being. When we allow anger to take hold of us, we compromise our ability to think clearly, maintain healthy relationships, and make decisions that align with our values. We may temporarily feel a sense of release or satisfaction from expressing our anger, but the consequences are often far-reaching and long-lasting. Anger doesn't resolve anything, it only prolongs the conflict and amplifies the harm. The more we allow ourselves to react in anger, the more we feed into a cycle of negativity that keeps us from living a peaceful, balanced life. The good news is that anger is not something we are doomed to experience uncontrollably. With awareness, effort, and practice, it is possible to manage our anger in healthier ways. Instead of allowing anger to dictate our actions, we can learn to recognize it when it arises, take a step back, and choose how we want to respond. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our anger, but rather understanding it and channeling it in ways that are constructive rather than destructive. Anger, when understood and managed properly, can be an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. It can be a signal that something needs to be addressed or that boundaries need to be set, but it doesn't have to be a force that controls us or damages our relationships. By learning to let go of anger and cultivate patience, understanding, and self-compassion, we free ourselves from its destructive grip. We regain control over our reactions, make better decisions, and create more harmonious relationships. Anger, when dealt with appropriately, can become a stepping stone toward greater emotional maturity and peace. Instead of allowing anger to dictate our actions, we can learn to use it as a catalyst for positive change, leading to a more fulfilling and peaceful life. Empathy and understanding are two of the most powerful tools we have to connect with others, navigate relationships, and build stronger, more compassionate communities. In a world often filled with division, conflict, and misunderstanding, the ability to empathize with others and strive to understand their perspectives can bridge gaps and transform lives. These qualities not only enhance our personal interactions, but also enable us to become more effective leaders, more supportive friends, and more compassionate human beings. Empathy is the ability to feel and recognize the emotions of another person, to step into their shoes and understand their experience on a deeper level. It involves recognizing their pain, joy, or frustration and responding in a way that reflects an understanding of their emotional state. It goes beyond sympathy, which is feeling sorry for someone from a distance, and instead requires an active effort to connect with their feelings and experience. It is often said that empathy is the ability to feel with someone else, to resonate with their emotions as though they were our own. This deep emotional connection fosters trust and compassion, allowing for more meaningful and authentic interactions. Understanding, on the other hand, involves the cognitive aspect of empathy. It is the effort to comprehend not just the emotional experience of another person, but also the context in which they are operating. Understanding means asking questions, listening carefully, and taking the time to truly grasp the nuances of someone's situation or point of view. It requires an open mind and a willingness to set aside our own judgments or biases to see the world from another person's perspective. In essence, empathy is feeling what others feel, and understanding is knowing why they feel that way. Both are essential for fostering strong, respectful, and compassionate relationships. One of the reasons empathy and understanding are so important is that they help us move beyond our own limited experiences and open our hearts and minds to the diverse experiences of others. Each person we encounter comes with their own set of experiences, challenges, and perspectives shaped by their unique background, upbringing, culture, and personal history. Without empathy and understanding, it is easy to misjudge or misunderstand others, to assume that everyone shares our own worldview and emotional responses. This can lead to conflict, frustration, and disconnection. However, when we approach others with empathy, we are more likely to recognize the richness and complexity of their experiences. We learn that our way of thinking is not the only way, and that others may face struggles or challenges that we cannot even begin to imagine. This expanded perspective allows us to respond more thoughtfully and compassionately to the people around us, to offer support, encouragement, or comfort when needed, and to make decisions that take into account the needs and emotions of others. Empathy is not just about understanding the pain or suffering of others, it is also about celebrating their joys, successes, and triumphs. By empathizing with someone's happiness, we are able to share in their joy and connect with them on a deeper level. When we understand and appreciate what brings someone joy or fulfillment, we create a foundation of mutual respect and admiration. Whether it's celebrating a friend's accomplishment, supporting a colleague's success, or sharing in the joy of a loved one's happiness, empathy fosters connection and strengthens the bonds between us. In many ways, empathy is the antidote to judgment and prejudice. Our world is full of individuals and groups who may seem different from us, whether in terms of culture, religion, gender, or background. Without empathy, it is easy to fall into the trap of making assumptions or generalizations about others based on limited information. We may judge them harshly, assume they are different in negative ways, or feel uncomfortable around them simply because they don't share our exact experiences. However, when we approach others with empathy and a willingness to understand their perspectives, we begin to break down these barriers of judgment and open ourselves up to new ways of thinking. Empathy is especially crucial in difficult conversations or situations. In our increasingly interconnected world, we are more likely than ever to encounter people from different walks of life, people who may have different cultural norms, values, and life experiences. Rather than allowing differences to create division, empathy allows us to see the common humanity that connects us all. It helps us recognize that, despite our differences, we all share similar desires for love, acceptance, and belonging. By practicing empathy and seeking understanding, we can bridge divides and create a more inclusive, compassionate society. The practice of empathy requires us to be present in the moment, to listen attentively, and to respond with care and consideration. It involves slowing down, stepping back from our own thoughts and feelings, and giving our full attention to the person we are interacting with. Empathy requires us to suspend judgment, to set aside our assumptions, and to approach others with openness and curiosity. It also requires emotional vulnerability, the willingness to let go of our own need for control or certainty, and to embrace the discomfort of not always having all the answers. Understanding, too, requires effort and intentionality. It is not enough to simply empathize with someone's emotions. We must also strive to understand the larger context in which they operate. This means asking questions, listening actively, and engaging in conversations that allow us to gain a deeper insight into their worldview. It means being willing to challenge our own assumptions and biases and to embrace the complexity of human experience. Understanding is an ongoing process, one that requires patience, humility, and a commitment to growth. There is no question that empathy and understanding are essential for creating meaningful connections and fostering harmonious relationships. By cultivating these qualities in ourselves, we not only enhance our ability to relate to others, but also contribute to the creation of a more compassionate, just, and inclusive world. Empathy allows us to reach out to others in times of joy and sorrow, to celebrate their successes and support them through their struggles. It is the foundation upon which we build trust, connection, and mutual respect. Understanding allows us to see beyond the surface, to grasp the complexity of others' experiences, and to find common ground. Together, empathy and understanding are transformative forces that have the power to heal, to unite, and to enrich our lives and the lives of those around us. Mindfulness is often described as the practice of being fully present and engaged in the current moment, without judgment or distraction. It is about tuning into our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and the environment around us with open awareness. In a world that often demands our attention in 1,000 different directions, mindfulness offers a pathway to clarity, peace, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. This practice is not just about sitting quietly for a few minutes each day. It is a way of living, a mindset that can be incorporated into every aspect of our daily lives. The essence of mindfulness is awareness. It is the ability to pay attention, to really notice, and to experience the present moment without being lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. Often we go through our days on autopilot, reacting to situations automatically and without full awareness. We may be eating, driving, or working, but our minds are elsewhere thinking about what happened earlier, what we have to do next, or worrying about things that are out of our control. Mindfulness is the practice of stepping out of this automatic mode and into a state of heightened awareness. It allows us to experience life as it truly is, without being filtered through the lens of our preconceptions, judgments, or distractions. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to help us create a healthy relationship with our thoughts and emotions. Often we become entangled in our thoughts, allowing them to define us and control our actions. When we are consumed by worry, regret, or fear, these thoughts can shape our behavior and influence our decisions in negative ways. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts without getting caught up in them. Rather than reacting impulsively to what's going on in our minds, we learn to observe with curiosity and detachment. This shift in perspective allows us to create a sense of space between ourselves and our thoughts, giving us the freedom to choose how we respond, rather than being driven by automatic reactions. In the same way, mindfulness encourages us to observe our emotions without judgment. Many of us have a tendency to resist or suppress uncomfortable feelings, believing that they are inherently negative or that we should avoid them at all costs. However, mindfulness teaches us that emotions are not something to be feared or avoided. They are natural responses to the world around us, and they are part of the human experience. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to sit with our emotions without trying to change them, push them away, or become overwhelmed by them. This acceptance allows us to process our emotions in a healthier way, without letting them control our actions or dictate how we feel about ourselves. One of the most common mindfulness techniques is meditation, which provides a structured environment for cultivating awareness. Meditation helps train the mind to focus and become more attuned to the present moment. There are many different forms of meditation, but one of the most basic and widely practiced forms is focused attention meditation. In this practice, individuals focus their attention on a single point of focus, such as the breath, a mantra, or a particular sensation in the body. As thoughts inevitably arise, practitioners gently bring their attention back to their point of focus, without judgment or frustration. Over time, this practice strengthens the mind's ability to remain present, calm, and focused in the midst of distractions. Another form of mindfulness practice is mindful breathing. This technique involves paying attention to the breath as it enters and leaves the body. The breath is always with us, making it an ideal anchor for cultivating mindfulness. When we breathe mindfully, we become aware of the rhythm of our breath, the sensation of air moving in and out of the body, and the way the breath affects the body. This simple practice helps to ground us in the present moment and can be used in any situation to help bring our attention back to the here and now. Whether we are feeling stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, mindful breathing provides a way to reconnect with our bodies and calm the mind. Mindfulness can also be practiced in our everyday activities, such as eating, walking, or listening. When we eat mindfully, for example, we pay attention to the colors, textures, and flavors of the food, savoring each bite and being fully present in the experience. Rather than rushing through meals or eating while distracted, mindful eating encourages us to slow down, appreciate the nourishment we are receiving, and cultivate gratitude for the food before us. Similarly, mindful walking involves paying attention to the sensation of each step, the movement of the body, and the environment around us as we walk. By focusing on the present moment, we create an opportunity to reconnect with our bodies and ground ourselves in the experience of simply being. One of the benefits of mindfulness is its ability to reduce stress and increase emotional resilience. In today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, stress has become a common experience for many people. We are constantly juggling multiple responsibilities, facing demands at work or in our personal lives, and dealing with the challenges of modern living. Stress can be overwhelming, but mindfulness offers a powerful antidote. By cultivating mindfulness, we become more aware of the sources of stress in our lives and learn to approach them with a sense of calm and clarity. Rather than reacting impulsively to stress, mindfulness allows us to pause, take a step back, and choose how we respond. This ability to respond with awareness rather than react out of habit helps us to manage stress more effectively and with greater ease. Mindfulness also enhances emotional regulation. By learning to observe our emotions without judgment, we gain a deeper understanding of the emotional patterns that influence our behavior. This awareness allows us to recognize when we are becoming upset, anxious, or frustrated, and take steps to regulate our emotions before they spiral out of control. Rather than suppressing or avoiding our feelings, mindfulness helps us to process them in a healthy way. This emotional regulation strengthens our ability to cope with difficult situations, improves our relationships, and enhances our overall well-being. In addition to reducing stress and enhancing emotional regulation, mindfulness improves focus and concentration. Our minds are constantly bombarded with distractions, from emails and social media to the constant flow of information in our modern world. This constant stimulation can make it difficult to focus on a single task, leading to feelings of overwhelm or frustration. Mindfulness, however, trains the mind to stay focused on the present moment, reducing the pull of distractions and improving our ability to concentrate. Whether we are working, studying, or engaging in any other task, mindfulness helps us to remain fully present and engaged, improving our productivity and performance. Another key benefit of mindfulness is its ability to foster a sense of compassion and empathy. When we practice mindfulness, we become more attuned to our own thoughts and feelings, which in turn enhances our ability to understand and connect with others. Mindfulness allows us to listen more deeply, to be more present in our interactions, and to respond with greater kindness and understanding. Rather than reacting out of judgment or frustration, mindfulness helps us to approach others with an open heart and a non-judgmental attitude. This quality of compassion extends not only to others but also to ourselves. Mindfulness encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and care that we would offer to a friend, promoting self-compassion and reducing self-criticism. The practice of mindfulness also promotes greater self-awareness. As we become more attuned to our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we gain a deeper understanding of who we are and what drives us. This self-awareness allows us to make more intentional choices rather than being driven by unconscious habits or patterns. We become more attuned to our needs, desires, and values, which helps us to live in alignment with our true selves. Mindfulness encourages us to approach ourselves with curiosity, to explore our inner worlds with an open mind, and to develop a deeper understanding of our motivations and behaviors. While mindfulness can be cultivated through formal practices such as meditation and mindful breathing, it is ultimately a way of life. The goal of mindfulness is not to simply practice it for a few minutes each day and then return to autopilot mode. It is about bringing mindfulness into every moment of our lives, from the way we engage with others to the way we take care of ourselves. By practicing mindfulness throughout the day, we can transform the mundane into something meaningful and create a deeper sense of fulfillment in every moment.